Hi, my name is Amy. I'm here to tell you how to fill out the stage 3 portion of Understanding by Design. Understanding by Design incorporates three main stages. The third stage is what we are looking at in this workshop and deals with how students will prove they have gained understanding of the items you've listed in stage 1. Stage number 3 is primarily about listing your framework and how you will meet your students' needs by using the Where To learning plan. Be sure as you are filling this stage out, you are referencing stages 1 and 2. Backward design is exactly that. You've already gone over in detail where you want your students to end up, and now you're detailing what you'll be doing in class to get them there. Don't lose track of where you want to go. Make every classroom activity and assignment directly align to the desired outcomes and understandings you have listed in the first two stages. It's easy to get distracted by fun and active learning, but remember, it's only worth it if you are able to utilize the fun activity to meet a goal that you have listed. In the Where To Learning Plan, there are several acronyms. The first is W. W stands for what, where, and where. The W section is where we list everything we need to remind ourselves and the students of where we have been, where we're headed, and why we're headed there. Remember that all of this information should be given in words your students understand because it is primarily for them. Students need to have ownership of their learning, and if they feel like your classroom is a team with you as the team leader, they will more likely buy in and actively engage as they go along for the ride. The students need to see logical reasoning for why they're learning, and then they'll be more inclined to work hard to gain that understanding. The next section is one of the ways you show your students why you are spending class time doing what you will be doing. Explaining the relevance, again, in terms the students understand, of your unit and the inherent benefits the students will gain from spending time and effort learning this unit will give the students ownership and encourage them to work harder for you and for themselves. This is where you will list the real-world helpfulness you plan on presenting to your class. The final W section is where you go over the methods you plan on using to diagnose what the students knew going into the unit and how it's different from what the students know after completing the unit. Again, this is in student language because we want our methods to be crystal clear for the students to see. Transparency is key. Showing them exactly what our intentions are and what our expectations will be sets them up for success because they won't feel slighted or surprised when the end of the unit arrives. This is also where we list what we plan on doing to make sure no misconceptions are occurring in class. The H stands for hook and hold. This next section you'll be filling out is the H section, listing how you plan on hooking and then holding the student's attention. Here is where you will detail what exactly you plan on using in class to make the students emotionally invested or frustrated, how you will get them intrinsically motivated to listen to what you're going to be telling them. This can be done in many ways, and feel free to be creative as different units lend themselves to different types of hooks. Additionally, after you grab their attention, how do you plan on keeping them interested when the going gets tough and the learning gets a little bit mundane? How will you keep them on the path to meeting the goals you set in stage 1 and stage 2? Remember, no activities should be done just to be fun. Everything listed here, as is the case for the rest of stage 3, should directly relate back to your earlier stages. Once you have your hooks and your holds, list the technology you plan on using. We're lucky today because we have YouTube, so use it. You can find almost anything there, maybe even videos helping you fill out your UbDs. Also, there's a plethora of phone apps today, and many students will have phones with them even when they're told not to. See if there's any way you can use that to your advantage. Maybe even convince an extra special student to design an app for you. Technology is everywhere, whether we like it or not. Take advantage of it. The E stands for equip. Your end goal, as always, is the transfer of understandings from this stage of their life to the next, which will be college. How are you going to equip them with the tools they need so that your students can fully experience the main issues and/or ideas of your topic? How will you help them explore issues surrounding the unit so that they can more fully internalize the big idea you're presenting to them? What will you do to allow them to uncover the real meat of your unit? It's these big ideas that we want them to put into their long-term memory so they can make additional connections to it as they progress through their education. The R is for rethink and revise. Students aren't going to naturally want to revise their work. We need to pretty much coerce or force them into rethinking what they feel they've already understand before they truly deep learning can take place. How will you get them to revisit and refine previous beliefs? What activities will you incorporate to make them stop and consider their own knowledge? Again, be sure these activities are not just a time filler or a fun activity. This is a worthy pursuit, but needs to benefit the students by relating to the goals you've listed in previous stages. Using some of the 6 facets of understanding will also give you various methods to use to get the students to think in new directions. As with reflection, metacognition is not something high schoolers like to spend time on. If anything, they likely think it's a waste of time. You will need to purposefully and willfully engage the student in thinking deeply about what they know or think they know, and how to find out that they might be mistaken. Peer revision, reflection journals, changing perspectives, debating. There's many ways for high schoolers to interact with each other who will gladly enlighten their peers if they're mistaken. We need to plan this into our daily classroom activities. The second E is for evaluate. Formative feedback is given while there's still time to change any misunderstandings in the learning. The distinction between formative and summative assessments is vital, and we as educators need to be prolific in giving formative assessments of various types. This will grant the students the ability to improve their work and to fix any misconceptions they might have picked up along the way. Get the students writing about their thoughts. Have them peer tutor an imaginary friend who just doesn't get it. Be creative in method, but get them to stop and look at what they think they know throughout the unit while there's still time to help them. The T stands for tailored. Your classroom is going to contain many different personalities with many different needs. How are you going to attempt to meet the needs of the many actual bodies in your room without losing your sanity in the planning? You can't teach the same lesson 30 times in 30 different ways because it's simply impossible. What are some methods you're going to implement that will start to meet the gap between what you want your students to know versus the previous knowledge and educational needs that they bring? You can manipulate your input, process, and products to meet the student's readiness, learning profile, and interests. You can use the 6 facets of understanding to create multiple platforms that present the same information in various ways to meet the needs of various learners. The sky is the limit, and your creativity is key. O stands for organized. We're teaching the next generation of our society, and while our content is absolutely important, so is instilling in our students good habits of mind. What will you do to encourage the management of impulsivity, metacognition, and applying past knowledge to new situations? How will you inspire imagination and innovation? Pre-planning is vital, as spontaneous incorporation of these tenets is rare. Make an organizational plan to make sure you present some of these habits of mind to your students in each unit you plan. What technology are you going to use to encourage your students, both in the unit itself and in the use of the technology itself? How will you organize your unit so that you give your students the opportunity to develop and enhance their technology skills with what you're able to present to them? These students are surrounded by a world full of technological wonders. Try to find some you can access that will enhance your unit. Again, make sure you avoid fun activities that don't align with your goals. What quantitative data will you end up with that you can bring to your department head to show that your efforts in the classroom are successful? How do you know you're teaching well? Simply having students like you isn't enough. How can you prove with data that you are an effective educator? How are you going to gather that data? So that's it. Thanks for sitting through 3 stages of filling out Understanding by Design templates with me. You'll see there's a list of resources that were used in making the blank template. Keep in mind, this is all worth it. Your students won't ever know how much work you put in, but it'll make a huge difference in their lives if you can just stick with it, do the work, gut it out, and have them learn your big ideas. Good luck to you, and I hope it all goes well. Thanks for listening.